there, studio art fans. Back to Mrs. B and poor Bernie Sanders, who I kind of screwed up. Okay, if you were following before, you can see kind of the faded line of I was too high with the bow and I was too far over. And the reason being that Mrs. B had regridded one of these photos, and this is just a little wider than 5 inches, so I started my 0 point not here but a little over, and it messed things up. So I had before told you that I should see a point about there. I shouldn't, because I gave you this little line to check yourself with. So as I look at this, which is the blown up grid rather than the little grid that I had worked from before, I can see that the curve of his head and his hairline actually meets really close to 1A. So here when I look at 1A, I can see that it should come over to here, not over to here. So my grid was off on my little photo. If we follow this grid, we should be golden with everything here. Now a lot of the folks that have turned theirs in already, and I can just follow this cheat line that I gave you right away. See how it follows real nicely here and corresponds exactly here? When you're working from the little one, the space will be half that wide and you'll have to make it this wide. But to go on to the ear, let's look carefully at the ear. Okay, let's look at the photo first. We can see the 1B is the closest line to where his hair falls. Okay, let me use the marker on his hair. Okay, so this is the point that I just plotted at close to 1A, and I'm going to follow that along right down here. Hopefully you can see that black line. Okay, it comes below the B line, and then it starts to hang a right, and it comes very close to C1. See how I do that? I follow one finger down from 1 and one over to C, and then I know that his ear, about halfway down his ear or a little more, is going to hit right here. So I'm going to attempt to do that with my pencil now. So I'm following, I'm continuing down, and it might just wing out just a little tiny bit below B, like right about here. I think this little mark here that I gave you to cheat with is the corner of his ear. And Bernie's got a few flyaways here that you can fake. Ba-boom, ba-bing. Okay. And then this is where it starts to curve in. Now I can do what I call half C's, which is what I was showing you before, where I cut a block that I'm working in half. So I'm going to cut it in half here. This is about halfway between the 0 line and the 1 line. And then I cut it halfway this way too. And what it does is it just shows you what you're looking at. So it shows you that your curve starts when you hit to this 1/4 of that bigger box. Okay? So if I do the same thing here, I find the half C line here, and I find the half C line horizontally, and I realize that when I get to about here, that's where I'm diving in, and my goal is here, to get from here to here. But I don't have to look at this big block anymore. I'm just looking at this 1/4 of that block. It just gives you less space to have to make mistakes in, basically. Okay? So now I'm looking at the upper quarter block right here, and I can see that this curve is about halfway up that. So this is about halfway up that, and that makes sense. His bow is coming here, and I can see that his hair blocks part of that bow. So I can erase some of this bow because I don't see it all. The hair is somewhere over in here. But what I can see is this curve, right? So that's in this upper quadrant or quarter of the big box. And if I cut it in half, it curves over and dives about here. So what I want you to pay attention to is this line. So you can see that that falls fairly close to the 1 line here. This is the 1 line on your drawing. So you've got to make this little dip, and it's got to be above the half C line, and it's got to kind of go in. So let's follow it on both the drawing and the photo. It's got to go like this. There, so that's that line. Now we also have to get this stuff in. So I'm going to go over I'm going to half see this box now. That's going to help me know where the bow of his glasses begins and ends. Let's do it with marker. Half seas. Whoop-de-doo. Okay, now that makes this kind of easy. If you look at this box right here, it's going to fall somewhere right in here. I don't want to use marker on this because this will be my finished product to show you guys when I'm done how to shade on. Okay, so this curve is going to fall about halfway over this box, a little bit lower, and it's going to go in here somewhere. So just make sure that you're getting these shadows in his ear at about the right places. That's gonna matter kind of a lot. And then he's got his little scraggy Bernie hair going here. And so his ear, there will be some shadows up here, but you don't want to do that for part one. And then there will be the shadow in this deepest part of like where his ear canal is. And there's